Welcome to the Inspired Action Podcast. This is where we have motivational, inspiring conversations and interviews that we hope you'll enjoy listening to.
Join us and other inspired actioneers on this alchemical, transformational journey.
Welcome back to the Inspired Action Podcast. I'm Jay, and this is our 101st 101 episode of Season 6 of the Inspired Action Podcast. And I'm here, as always, with my co-host, Leta Herman. Come on down.
Welcome back, Inspired Actioneers. It's so great to have you join us again today. And we're eager to continue our topic from the last time on the magic of the heart, but especially how to heal heart pain. You know, so many of us carry around heart pains, Jay.
Yeah, it's like, that we talk about the dusty old furniture stuck in the corners of our hearts, those old sofas, those old lazy boys, lazy girls, clogging up our intuition and freedom to be our authentic self. So guess what we need?
What?
Yard sale.
A yard sale.
Let's get that out. Let's get it out to the curb, right?
Yeah.
Let's get rid of it, please.
Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Totally. So actually, what this podcast is about, what the episode is about, is forgiveness. Because I think one of the best ways to free your heart and the tentacles that have wrapped around it from the past is to do what we like to call advanced forgiveness. And there's no small feat in advanced forgiveness.
You mean like foot size?
No.
Like size 5 little tiny feet?
No.
Oh, you mean feet like in F-E-A-T?
Yeah, like an endeavor. It's not an easy one.
Okay,
It's what
I have big feet. I was like, all right, well.
It's what we call a tall order. And I don't mean
tall and
Starbucks.
big feet. So
I don't mean Starbucks tall order. What were you going to say?
Tall as in like 6 feet tall.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
And not tall as in the smallest size.
I don't drink coffee,
in
so
Starbucks.
I don't know. That would be what, a Venti? Trente?
Yeah, it's like a Trenta or Trenta
I don't
size.
think they do coffee in Trenta, only in the iced.
Yes, right.
See, I do know some Starbucks talk.
There
which
you
is
go.
different than Star Wars talk.
Yes, right. Much different.
Yes.
Now, in Star Wars, you might be talking about a big feet or a small feet.
That's hobbits.
F-E-A-T.
Okay, that's not Star Wars. Okay, so the five people are cringing. Okay, that's LOTR, Lord of the Rings, not Star Wars.
Okay. All right. Is it big feet or small feet? Is it a big feet?
How about a big feet to have small feet?
Yeah, there you go.
Or is it small feet to have big feet? I don't know. We're way off on the foot thing. I'm so sorry. I just had a little joke there about the small feet.
All right. So
small feet, tall order.
So let's get back to the topic.
Yeah, small feet, tall order.
Okay, it's a tall order. It's something, advanced forgiveness is something that may take many of us a little while to grasp.
Especially after that explanation.
Especially
I'm like,
after
hello,
that.
that sounds
If you're
way advanced.
confused.
Can we go to like pre-advanced, like the baby steps of the small feet of the large, tall order? Let's just go slow with that. Because, I feel like that was like the worst explanation we could have possibly done. But wait, before we do that, let's do that. Let's just go and say, let's just do an update of what's going on with the podcast in the Alchemy Learning Center, which is connected.
Okay, cool. So as you know, we've launched season 6 of the podcast.
We've birthed it. It's out.
It's out. And
okay, that was like a goat and not a baby. I apologize.
Yeah.
Unless you're a baby goat, then no apology needed. That's right.
Yeah. So you can go listen to the 100th podcast, which is our last podcast, which starts season 6. That would probably be a good idea if you haven't heard it yet. And we're really excited about this season and some of the new surprises we have planned for all of you, our listeners.
Yeah, we have so many things. We're going to hopefully get to them all. And which is no small feet. Right?
There you go.
Not have small feet. We have big shoes. But in case you're not familiar with the Alchemy Learning Center, you can go check it out. We have classes, webinars, live events, a lot on 5 elements, 9 palaces, alchemy, ghost points. There's some Chinese medicine. There's all kinds of stuff that we're really kind of into. And that's the alchemylearningcenter.com. So you can go. We also have an app, as you've heard us talk about, that is also connected to the podcast.
Yes. And so in particular, you might enjoy our curated podcast, for example, which is available on the site or in the app.
So that's air quotes curated. Basically, it's lazy ass.
Yeah. There you go.
If you want the short version of what we're talking about, because now we have 101.
Yeah.
So if I said, hey, go back to episode 61, which we did the other day, it was hysterical.
And we're going to do today as
That's
well.
Right. So you can just go to the LA version and which is the curated version on our podcast.
There you go.
So that's good. And then we have like so many things. So sign up, check it out. It's free to sign up. And we have a lot of free stuff, including some free alchemical meditations as well. And you always can listen to the podcast either through the app or on the website.
There you go.
All right. So without further ado, let's get back to our episode for today. Our program. Were you going to say that?
Yes. I feel like we're going to have to call it Bigfoot or something.
Bigfoot. I don't know. All right. So let's go, Lena.
So in our last season, we talked about asking yourself the "what do I really want" question. This is part of stage 1 of alchemy. And if you struggle getting an answer to that question, please don't dismay. It may be that you just have a heart block, because in order to align your heart with what you really want, which is what we're talking about in this season, your heart has to be fully accessible to you. And it has to be allowed to feel the passion and excitement for life that only our hearts can bring.
So if you're out there and you're struggling with this question, then maybe you have a blocked heart, which is when the heart has some kind of heart pains, right, Lena? Like let's talk a little bit about heart pains.
Yeah. So, there are heart pains that are pretty temporary, and they resolve themselves with a little bit of time going by.
Well, if they're more serious, if they're more traumatic, it might take longer, even maybe a lifetime or two to resolve if you don't address it directly, correct?
Definitely a lifetime or two. I like that. But, so that's very true. And in order to do alchemy, if you have such heart pains, you must spend some time working on releasing them, because, that's really the heart of the matter here. We need to free your heart. And there are treatments in alchemy to do this. We call them the 9 heart pains treatments. Sometimes we call it the loving yourself treatment. And if you feel like you can at least access your own heart, then you have the ability to access your own healing magic. Because remember, we said the magic of the heart, it's the healing magic. So you can release your heart pains on your own.
Yeah, and it can take a little time. You have to be patient. Sometimes a year or more. But if you do succeed and you can really let go of these heart pains, these tentacles of the past, think of the tentacles wrapped around your heart one by one, then you can begin the journey to love yourself.
Yes. So unwrapping and untangling these heart-entrapping tentacles, it takes time, it takes self-love, and also a vigilant mind. You have to really watch your mind. And so this self-love can be rejuvenated and reawakened in you, or it can maybe be developed for the very first time in your life if you've had a tough time from day one.
Sure, you can start that conversation with guess who? Yourself. This is like sometimes the hardest thing to do. We forget, we lose touch with ourselves. We start to doubt it. We don't trust our intuition. We don't trust our judgment. But you can start that conversation with yourself. So the first thing I always say is, can you forgive those who have hurt you?
Yeah, this is really hard for a lot of people for so many reasons. One common reason is that if you forgive, you think it makes you feel vulnerable to that person maybe hurting you again, or something like it happening again. So you never forget it happened to you, because you're on constant vigilant watch to ensure it never happens again.
And this is kind of like a self-torture, continually on the treadmill of just going over, or the hamster wheel, just round and round and round and round. You can never really relax if you're in this place. I like that. The hamster wheel of torture.
Yeah. And it really is like you're under attack. So it's not the perpetrator that originally did that to you who's suffering from this situation. It's you who's suffering.
Yeah, this is why we're trying to cultivate this new way to look at the situation, this perspective shift. The events of the past are in the past. They will never happen again exactly the same way they happened previously. Why? Because you're a different person. You're a different person as every moment of time goes by. You're a different person. You're not that young kid anymore. You're not that naive person. You're a new person every day just by getting life experience. So you probably aren't going to put yourself in harm's way anymore, or that same way, because you're stronger, older, wiser, even if it's just by a day, a week, a month, another year. There are probably a million of factors of why it's unlikely to happen again. So if that's the case, why be in constant fear of it? And I'm doing air quotes again, and always be on the lookout for it to happen again to you. It's like this giant burden that you carry.
Yeah. So we ask our clients, the ones who are ready, because, you might not be ready for forgiveness, but for those who are, we ask them to try something called advanced forgiveness. Instead of just thinking, I've got to forgive this person. We've talked about this in the past on the podcast, actually, Jay.
I just mentioned that Pod 61. So if you want to go back and listen to Pod 61, take another listen on this advanced forgiveness on what you can do. Or, Leta, I don't know, why don't we just give a quick review in case they can't get back to it, okay?
They're too LA.
Too LA.
Okay.
To go back to 61. We'll give you the quick version, but still go back and listen if you want.
Right. So advanced forgiveness is so, so powerful.
We've seen it with people with severe trauma for the first time in their lives, finding a sense of peace. And what they do is they have a life that starts from this advanced forgiveness, a new kind of life.
Right. So this idea of advanced forgiveness comes from the Hawaiian tradition called Ho'oponopono. And that, many of you have probably heard of it before. I mean, we're not the first ones to bring it to light. But in this tradition, the Hawaiian shamans believed that anything you're experiencing or witnessing in your life, in your reality, is something that you actually created so that you can learn something. So this is the philosophy. So if you see bad things in your life, perhaps they're there because you want to feel good about yourself. And in contrast to that bad stuff, well, you feel, I don't know, more gooder.
Gooder. Is that actually a word?
No.
I like it.
But
you
I love
feel
it.
more gooder.
You feel more gooder.
Yeah.
So there might be something in us that actually wants these bad things in the world to happen so that we can find our own goodness in contrast.
And, become the angels we truly want to be. If you want to be an angel, right?
Right, exactly. Who doesn't want to be an angel?
I don't know.
I don't know. All the devilish people out there. Okay, well, anyway.
I don't want to be judgmental.
Right, there we go.
No good, no bad, no right or wrong.
Right.
But if you want to have more angelic time here on the planet,
there you go.
Then Ho'oponopono is pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's this simple exercise. We wrote about it in our book, Through the Mystery Gate, and it goes like this. You picture the person who wronged you. Now, if you don't have a particular person, it was like a situation that you can't really blame on a particular person. You might just think of the situation, or you might even think of like whatever you call God or the divine presence or whatever you think is responsible for the pain you're experiencing. So you think of that.
I mean, think about whoever's in that story that you're telling yourself over and over. Who do you picture in your mind? And then start to talk to them in your head. And you want to start with 4 things. So 4 things to say to them. Again, a lot of air quotes today.
Yeah.
Right. Them.
Whatever that person or thing or divine energy, whatever it is, you picture them in your mind and you say these 4 things.
So the first one is, I'm sorry.
Yes. I'm sorry for making you into the monster I think you are.
Okay. Please forgive me.
So that means, please forgive me for making you into that monster.
And then thank you.
And that means, thank you for showing me why I needed you to be the monster so I can feel better about myself.
And the last one is, I love you.
And that just means, I love the true essence of you that I see beneath the parts I really don't like. Beneath the monster is some true essence that I can love.
Okay, so some people might be like, no effing way. I can't do that. But if you're freaking out, think about it, Do you have to apologize to the bad person who did me wrong? What?
No, right. So it's not that you're apologizing to them.
They're out of the picture.
Yeah.
They're like done right now.
Yeah.
It's inside of your brain, in your heart, in your body.
Right. Because as a victim, you don't need to apologize to them. You're the victim. You're apologizing to them for creating them in the first place.
Yeah. So maybe it's a little easier with someone who, let's say, criticized you in a really unfair way. Or perhaps you really dislike them or really, I hate to use the word hate. I hate to use the word hate. Get that?
Yeah.
So if you kind of hate them, so when you do advance forgiveness in that respect, your apology is basically, I'm sorry for making you into this overly critical person. Please forgive me for seeing you in that way. Thank you for showing me I needed your criticism so I can feel stronger in myself and how I view myself in contrast to what you're saying. And finally, I can see through the parts I don't like and honor the goodness that is somewhere inside of you and the love that part of you, regardless of what you did to me. So just think about that. Like you have to put it in your own context, in your own words, in your own situation.
Yeah, I really like that. And I was thinking thank you for showing me that I needed to feel stronger in myself. That's really good with the criticism example, Jay, because when we feel criticized, it's usually because we're not feeling that confident in ourselves.
Right. And usually it's the other person who is actually the weaker person and is
Yeah.
using it probably to deflect
Yeah.
or kind of point you in a different direction. It's like I often talk about that whisper in the ear.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, it's something like that. So you can try that
Yeah,
out.
it's just something like that. But
Everyone's a little different.
it is a little different for everyone. So you
Yeah.
just have to go slow and take one at a time.
Yeah, and the important thing is to repeat these 4 phrases over and over again because and again, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Then you do it again. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love
And
you.
you can have music playing and
Yeah.
all kind. There can be a ceremony. There can be
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff that
So
you
you
can
do
do
it
with
like
that.
20 times. And as you begin, you might still be mad, like
Is there an
really
actual number that you would recommend?
around 20. I mean, it's a good amount.
Okay.
And so you might feel some hatred, some heart pain comes up, you might feel like crying. So as you begin, it feels kind of yucky. But then what's really amazing about it is the more times you say it, as you get up to like 20 or maybe more even, but as you start to repeat the phrase, it changes inside you. You feel different. So you're going to do it until you start to feel relief. And you will. It's pretty miraculous if you do this exercise. I've had a lot of people do it and they start to feel lighter inside. They feel lifted up. They feel less darkness.
And you kind of have to let the tears come if they want to come.
Yeah.
No more stuffing.
Right. And it's the magic of that heart. It's miraculous. I've seen so many people, come to those tears and they're cleansing tears. They're good. So that's the sort of nutshell of it all. Let's just say it's pretty basic. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Repeat. Repeat 20 times. See how you
When
feel.
we talk about this, I often remind people it's important to recognize that you don't have to apologize to this person's face. You're not apologizing to the person. You're really doing some advanced forgiveness, which is really releasing the pain inside of your own heart.
Yeah, it's really important. You can, of course, apologize to a person if this exercise makes you feel like you need to, because in some cases, you do actually feel like you owe that person an apology for harboring so much ill will. And, it depends on the circumstances, of
Yeah, and you'll
course.
know what's right for you. We don't know the whole story. We're not there with you. You're kind of working on this on your own, or maybe with one person you're really close with. But basically, it's that asking yourself better questions, going deeper with yourself, having a conversation with yourself.
Yeah, and it's about getting to that feeling of lightness. Can you feel that pain begin to lift off your heart and feel the ease of not harboring so much ill will and pain?
And then the next step, again, we can say another baby step, is looking at how your past traumas, your pains have become tentacles wrapped around your heart that you carry with you that prevents you from being you.
Yeah, so you can think of this as just another approach to releasing heart pain similar to the advanced forgiveness exercise we just described. So we realize that everyone's a little different, and some things will work for you and other things may not. So if you do the advanced forgiveness exercise, maybe it doesn't do anything for you. So let's talk about this idea of these tentacles, and the work we can do on that is a little different than the advanced forgiveness work.
Just another option. If it
Right.
feels good, go forward. If it doesn't, you don't have to. And I think that, what I would like everyone to remember from my perspective is one of the reasons why we're talking about this is to help our hearts be free, free to align with what we really want. You can kind of see the pattern if you listen to the podcast. Think about in the last season how we talked about people asking themselves, what do I really want questions. These are the things that can possibly block that or can come up. So in this season, we're asking them to align with what they really want. And this is sometimes really hard because your heart is not free and you don't know why, or you just can't face it. This is one way that you can maybe try to go down that journey. And so you're not going to be in alignment with what you truly want if you can't work on these tentacles.
Good point. So you may really want something, really, really, really want it, but your heart has been injured and cannot get on board with it. So that means you're not free to be you.
Or to do you, that kind of that popular phrase, you do you.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you can't. Something you don't really
Yeah.
want to go deep and you know what it is. Okay. Most of the time, if I'm talking with someone, I'm like, you could probably tell me exact moment when something shifted. And they're like, yep.
PTSD.
Yep. They're like, yep, we know the incident. So we have to kind of judge when you're ready to go there.
We want you to be free to be you.
Free to be you. It sounds like a song. Free to be you and me.
Yeah.
It probably is, okay?
It is that. I remember there was a song when we
like
were
a kids
kids.
song, right? Yeah.
There was a Free to Be You and Me
See?
album.
I must be like imprinted on my brain.
I actually grew up with that album, and it's had a bit of resurgence in the past couple of years with Sarah Bareilles covering the song.
Free to Be You and Me was an amazing kids record back in the 70s that really focused on boys and girls being authentic selves. So it fits right into the theme of the season. That was like I really don't know this album that well, but this is what Leta told me. And I do remember a little bit of it, but now the resurgence has made it kind of cool again.
All right.
I guess we can't play it. So
no, I'm going to sing it for you.
Oh my gosh. Can we try to find a way to play it? Like pay 8 cents or something and let's try to play it. But I don't know. But I'm sure you sound just like Sarah Bareilles. Who was the original?
Marlo Thomas.
Oh, I loved her.
Yeah, she was good. And it's, there's a land that I see where the children are free. And I say it ain't far to this land from where we are. Go listen to Sarah Bareilles.
I'm going to just go with the laugh and then we're going to go with the applause. And then back with the laugh. Because I don't know which one you deserve on that. Sarah's probably like, what? Is that the same song?
Sarah's like, oh, let me sing it, girlfriend.
So, I just think after that, Leta, I don't think we have to worry about paying for the real song. They're going to pay us to not sing that song. They're going to give us the money to not do it ever again.
There you go.
You could also donate to that if you wish to not hear that song ever again from Leta.
Give us money.
The royalty to not
sing it.
Okay, thank you. Have a good day.
Bye.
Go listen to the real version, please, because you'll really be impressed with Sarah Bareilles.
There you go.
Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Inspired Action Podcast, and you've reached the end. Woohoo! Why not celebrate a little bit and click that subscribe button right there. We love having you with us on this journey, and we want it to continue.
You can also rate and review this podcast. And if you have already, thank you so much. We read all reviews, and your reviews help other people find this podcast as well. You can also be a part of this podcast yourself by submitting a voice recording message and emailing it to us at leta@inspiredactionpodcast.com or jay@inspiredactionpodcast.com.
And if you want, you can join our Facebook group or follow us on Instagram.
Join us next week for another Inspired Action conversation. And thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening, and remember to hug the dog.